Hey, how's everybody doing today?
Fantastically well, Mr. Goblin.
Nice, I'm happy to hear that, Clarence. How about you, Fan of Frog? All right, he's pumped. And you, Wonderbot, how you doing over there?
I am depressed.
Aw, dude, I'm sorry to hear that. What's got you down?
Where to start? Microplastic brain spoons, the price of eggs, not that I have the ability to eat them anyway. The dawn of World War III.
Whoa, I'm gonna stop you right there, bud. Today we are making toys, and we are gonna have fun.
Yes, fun with Mr. Goblin. Fun.
That's right, the Wonder Goblin Show is all about having a good time making vinyl toys.
You should make a vinyl toy of Clarence.
One day, Clarence, one day.
How about today?
Not today.
Well, fine and merry, your eyebrows are too hairy, and they look dumb. And it stands to reason, if you look dumb, you'll make my toy look dumb.
Yeah, probably so.
So, what are you making today?
Well, the 10-year anniversary of my toy company and my original Goblin toy is coming up soon, so I thought it'd be appropriate to make another creature from the Goblin universe.
Yes, Mr. Goblin likes to make goblins.
Yeah, that's true. The original Goblin I made back in 2015, hand cast in resin. I only made about 50 of these guys before getting burnt out on all the seam sanding and finishing that each one required. So then I made this Goblin finger puppet here a few years later in soft vinyl. This is actually one of my first ventures into sofubi, made in Japan. Then, just a couple years ago in 2023, I made the Goblodon, prehistoric kaiju.
So, what's next in the evolution of the goblin?
I was thinking it's finally time for Goblin Man.
Goblin in the form of man. Never heard of that one before.
Well, I'm gonna put my own spin on it. It'll be cool.
Much cooler than a Clarence toy, I'm sure.
Okay, look, I promise. I'm gonna make a Clarence toy of you in the next episode.
Ah.
This old Rang Shambambo needs to cut me some slack, right? Huh? Clarence? Where'd you go? Where'd everybody go?
We are still here, Mr. Goblin.
Oh, very nice, and so you are. Well then, while you're here, would you like to watch me design a Goblin Man?
Yes, we would like to see you draw now.
You got it. All right, so you only need a few things for this. Some paper, a pencil, an eraser, and a couple of rough drafts to work from. For instance, this first draft of the Goblin Man, right here. You can see I was going for more of a sci-fi approach, very inspired by early Japanese tokusatsu shows and stuff. Like, looked like he'd be like the villain in an old Japanese superhero show. I like him. I think he's cool, but it just wasn't right for Goblin Man. This is the culmination of, this is the humanoid form of my Goblin character, right? This is a big deal. I gotta get it right. So I tried again. I went with this. Pretty cool. I was happy with it. I still think it's cool drawing. It's just, I got to thinking about the playability of it. This is a toy. His arms aren't going to be able to really articulate very well. I mean, like they'll be able to move around, but they won't really look good unless they're pointed up, right? That's the way bat wings are when they're spread out like that. You just kind of, you put him down and he's like, what is he doing? Why is he got his arms out like that, So I got to thinking more about it. I was like, you know what, we can do this. Let's take it, third time's a charm. Let's try it again. I'm gonna try to incorporate a more classic Goblin vibe of what most people think of as Goblin. I know my interpretation of Goblin is very different from what most people think of as a Goblin. This is not what most people think of as a Goblin. It's what I think of as a Goblin. It's what a Goblin is to me. So I'm still going to do that, but I'm going to try and tap into the zeitgeist a little bit on this one. Try to remember that this toy isn't just for me. I'm making art as a medium for other people to be excited about too. I'm making hundreds of these things and selling them, and I want people to, feel something with it. I want people to pick up this Goblin Man and think, yeah, this is Goblin Man. I'm a goblin too. I feel this. Yeah, this is my spirit in a way. So I'm going to take a shot at that with this guy, and we're going to see what happens. Hopefully, it'll be the one I land on. You're going to get to watch me do it and see. All right? So here we go. Third time's a charm. All right, so let's take it to warp drive here. And what you just saw there was me using a measuring tape to mark the height of how tall I want my toy to be. And the reason I do that is because I like to try and design my figures at actual size so that I know how much detail is necessary to incorporate. It also helps me once I get to the sculpting stage, because when I'm roughing out a head or an arm, if I'm unsure about the proportions, I can just hold it up to the drawing to compare. You know, work smarter, not harder, right? So now you can see that I'm looking at my references here for inspiration. I'm looking at my favorite aspects of these previous drafts and trying to incorporate them into my current drawing here. For instance, like, I really like how the head turned out in this last draft that you had just seen. I want to keep that more or less. I do like how I incorporated a little more detail in the ear canals of this more bat-like version though, and there's just a few things in here I'm just like, do I want to do the, nope, okay, yeah, I'm good. I'm just gonna go back to working on this without the it's now it's time for me to just sort of go at it. And you see me getting kind of lost in the sauce here, you know. I'm I draw things, I don't know if I draw things the right way, you know, like this is not me showing you like what the right way to do things is. You know, some people would rough everything out, get all the basic proportions done, and then go in and do the detail. But sometimes I start doing detail before I even like get down to the body, you know. I don't know. I put those wings on his back. I'm gonna try them on for size, but I'm not convinced that he really needs them. I'm just giving it a shot. You know, I like to always know going into a design that I will probably revise a lot as I go. You'll notice me using the eraser a good bit. I just think it's important to not let yourself get too attached to the first idea. You got to just work on it and watch it grow, see what works and what doesn't. And if you get an idea to change something, don't be afraid to just erase a huge chunk of your drawing and try it out. You know, once I really get into the flow of it all, the drawing starts to inform me of what it likes and what it doesn't. I just try to listen to my intuition and go with the flow. Sometimes to really get a good idea of what needs to be done, you got to just walk away from it and clear your mind. Come back the next day and look at it with a fresh eye. I know for this particular design, I spent about an hour a night for 3 or 4 nights, I think. And that's the other thing too that I think is important, that people don't really talk about a lot. It's timing. When I want to take an idea that's floating around in my head and call it forth into this reality, I need to do it at the appropriate time. I have a segment of the day that I always set aside for this purpose. It's my me time, and it usually starts at about midnight or 1 a.m. There's no one else around, just me and my thoughts, and that's when I can really make my magic. But, you know, not everybody works like that. Some folks have their me time early in the morning when they first get up. You got to just pay attention to what you need when you need it. I personally like to actualize my thoughts during the witching hours. What can I say? I'm a goblin. So why goblins, you may be asking? It's no secret that I love goblins. There's just something really special about them that I feel like humanity has finally tapped into recently. You know, for a long time, everyone thought of goblins as just these awful cave-dwelling freaks that pretty much fail at everything, never win the fight. But when you take that surface level perspective and dive a little deeper into it, You know, there's something very relatable there. At least for me there is. And I think a lot of other people as well. You know, when you look at a goblin for what it really is, take away the narrative and just really pay attention to what makes a goblin so special. You've got a creature here that just wants to live this life to the fullest and taste the bold flavor of chaos, throwing all caution to the wind. They just want to do what they want to do and feel how they want to feel. They work hard and play foolishly, and that gives them a very endearing quality, in my opinion. And I think with all the societal pressures that social media thrusts on us, and with all the bad news we're constantly drowned with by the world, it's really easy to want to just tune out all the noise and hunker down in a cave somewhere, staying up all night until 4 in the morning, just drawing monsters, rocking out to Black Sabbath, dancing with yourself while stuffing your face with pancakes and chicken legs. But I don't know. That's still just a small snippet, you know, of what goblin means to me. I personally think of myself as something a little more complicated than just a goblin, of course. I think the reason Wonder Goblin feels so right for me as a moniker is because I have always tried very hard to be more than just a goblin. I've known for a long time that I'm a goblin at my core, but that doesn't stop me from trying to, you know, really, really hard to be an enlightened Sasquatch, if you will. I've always thought of Sasquatch as a very spiritual, angelic being that's totally in harmony with the Tao. And I know it's probably impossible, but I can't help but strive towards the idea that maybe one day I can evolve into a masterful state of being like that, you know, like, and really experience a beautiful peace that just stays with me forever, you know. That's where the wonder comes from, I think. You know, the goblin that wonders. Can he become more than goblin? Who knows? Only time will tell. Yeah, enough of all that. Let's get back into what I'm actually doing here. I'm sorry. I'm rambling. You see those hands there? Those are my hands. I took pictures of my hands and printed them out so that I could use them as reference, because I was having kind of a hard time with the hands. I didn't like what I had drawn before, you know, the 3-fingered hands. I was like, I need more. I didn't want to do 5 fingers. I thought it's got to be a little weird, so let's do 4. But so I took pictures of my hands kind of hiding the pinky, you know, so that I could use that reference, and my feet as well, because they're all like veiny and gross and weird, and so I thought they'd be perfect for goblin feet and goblin hands. So here I go again, just erasing everything I had worked on. I'm like, you know what? I was looking at it and I was thinking, for articulation purposes, having those gauntlets kind of at that angle is going to make articulation weird, right? Like if I flatten those out, see, now I can make those turn. That can be where the joint starts, at that gauntlet, and down to that hand. That's one piece, right? And then the forearm is another piece, and now he can turn his hands, and the gauntlets can easily move with him. So you gotta think about that stuff when you're designing a toy. You know, this isn't just a drawing. You're drawing a design that is going to be made into a 3-dimensional toy that is then going to be molded. You know, if you're doing it like what I'm doing and making a soft vinyl toy, it's going to be molded with the slush cast method, which means you can't have any undercuts. You got to keep things kind of simple. You got to remember the joints all have to be, you know, flat circles basically, so you can move things. You want things to be able to move around, and you want to be able to play with it. You know, that's the point of a toy. You know, this isn't just a sculpture. This is playable art we're making here. You know, that's the fun. That's the special thing there. So, you know, I'm thinking I'm going to have joints at the gauntlets there, joints at the armpit, you know, a joint at the waist. So the legs will be one piece. And then a head, a separate head. The cape will be worked into the body, into the torso as one piece. And then for these feet, I'm thinking the feet will be separate pieces because I want them to be big and I don't want them to get stuck in the mold. I want them to pull easily. I want to keep things easy here for whoever's pulling this. Probably going to be me. And so I'm going to incorporate these gauntlets here as a good way to make that joint seamless, you know, and pull it right there at the ankle. It can be tricky thinking this way, you know, when you're creating and you're trying to actualize, you know, like I said, your thoughts into reality, and you're trying to make this thing, you know, something that's going to be a physical object. You know, it can be a lot to think about. That, like, oh, I want the design to be good. I'm trying to like get this idea out, you know. Also, at the same time, I'm thinking about joints and undercuts and like all these little, you know, all I can say is it might seem overwhelming at first if you've never done this before, but it just takes practice. It just takes time. The more you do this, the more designs you make and the more toys you make, the easier it gets. And that's all there is to it. There's Goblin Man. I'm happy with it. I think it worked out pretty good. You know, this is yeah. The little skull patch, the tight abs, dude works out. Yeah, he's ready. He's ready. All right. Yeah, this is the one. We're gonna sculpt this guy soon. All right, my friends, now you know how to take a pencil and put it to some paper. When you go to do it for yourself, if you even care to do it for yourself, you might not do it the way I do it, and that's probably a good thing. This show wasn't so much about how to design a toy, but rather how to get in touch with your own inner creature. What are you? Are you also a goblin? Or are you more of a troll? Maybe if you're one of the lucky few, you might even be a fairy. I like the fairies. They're cute, very unpredictable. Speaking of, I think Baby James is ready to send us all off with a lovely poem. Take it away, Baby James.
A goblin's fate. Deep within the cavern of doom, a scarce light hides in the throne room, casting rainbows of divine influence upon the Goblin King's travelers. The Wonder Crystal, mover of time and space, beheld by the goblin race. Its power in the hands of fools, travelers depart. Your king's treasure awaits. At the interstellar center, Gahera's dark womb you must enter. The goblin men plunder the heart of a dreaming goddess that few behold, her fungal beauty unfurled throughout the cursed cosmos. O dance of death, your wakefulness upon us. We convulse in your sickly glow. Who among us can turn the goblin's fate?
Yeah, probably so. Not so hard. Get it together, Clarence.
Oh God, I'm gonna throw up. Oh God, oh God, oh God.
Get it together, bud. Get it together. You're good. You're good. You're looking good. You're good. There's the light. There's the camera. All right, here we go. So straight. Here we go. I don't know. It's kind of weird. All right.